Ranger Matol and Father Chody stayed with the little boy, Jack, the only survivor of the abandoned town of Tanis, for several nights, trying to get more details out of him. He would only talk about his friends who had broken into that cabin and how they fell into the black. Ranger Matol walked to that cabin on the hill more than once, each time only finding a simple, small cabin, 3 rooms, nothing out of the ordinary. It wasn't until the 3rd night they stayed with the boy in the Travail Inn that something happened. Father Chody woke in the middle of the night. It was silent in his room. Glancing over at Jack's bunk, he found it empty and the door leading out was ajar. Springing into action, the priest ran across the hall, banged on the ranger's door, only to realize that it too was slightly opened. Father Chody dashed out of the inn to see the ranger freewalker crouched behind a half wall, both watching down the road and signaling for his friend to be quiet. Jack was there, only a few hundred yards ahead, walking down the road. He was almost floating, dreamlike in his pacing. Before Father Chody could yell at the boy, Ranger Matol whispered,
"He's not awake. I've never seen anything like it. He's being pulled to that damn cabin."
Keeping a safe distance, the 2 older men followed Jack back to Tanis. Frustrated with King Danau's defensive approach to the zombie pigmen invasion, Ferdinand Keat saw his chance to make a difference when he and his friend and captain, Pog Hackling, were saved by frost druids. While on a coral harvesting trip to the eastern reef, sailing with the wind and out of the setting sun to the west, the black sails of pirates appeared suddenly and without warning. Pog and Ferdinand dropped sail and sped off, but were about to be overtaken when seemingly out of nowhere a boat appeared. Standing on the deck, nearly a dozen figures in robes were chanting an indecipherable song. Ice grew quickly across the ocean, completely swallowing up the pursuing vessel and saving the bearded saber. Ferdinand saw this as a sign that he should seek out the frost druids. With that power, certainly they could change the tides of this war and defeat the nether forces for all time. Hiring freewalker Thawkins at Port Bray, the 2 made their way west to White Sands, the furthest the House Danau Rangers are permitted to travel. Ferdinand would be on his own if he continued west into the frozen tundra.
Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode from the Realm of Vasten. It's been a few days since I've been able to record because I've been quite sick, as I think a lot of you know. In fact, I'm still coughing a little bit, and talking is just going to make it worse. So I'm going to try to do what I can. Today may end up being a little bit shorter than normal, but I need to get this out because I have a couple things first to show you that I've been building, and also, more importantly, some applications for Vasten Dimensions that have been approved, and we opened up some new spots, so I wanted to announce those. And let me just get to that right now, and you can just take a look at this beautiful thing that I have been working on over the past, well, I don't know, a little bit. Here, I don't know, five or 6 days, maybe. I think it's been since I could record last, because I lost my voice, even though I wasn't that sick. First, I lost my voice. Then, I kind of got my voice back, but I got super sick for like 2 days. I had the flu, temperature, fever, the whole, frequent bathroom stops, the whole bit, the whole shebang. It was really awesome. It was super fun. But anyway, I feel mostly better now, but I built this kind of off camera because I had a lot of time to just kind of grind and be too sick. I couldn't breathe and whatever. So let me read off the names of who we're taking for this new wave of applications for Vasten Dimensions, and then we'll continue with the episode. Okay, here we go. We are taking Lythil, Entut, It's Sam Plays, It's Echo, Mollis Slime, Timeless Master, Philosophy Fox, God of Depression, Wes McClue, Sazzlecraft, King Wolf. All right. Oh, and Master Command. I almost forgot. I had it written on a separate sheet of paper here. Master Command also. So, yeah, thank you so much for your applications. Don't worry if you either didn't get in this time or didn't get your application due. We'll have another round of applications later on. That's not it for the whole season, most likely, depending on how it goes. But there have been some times, particularly like European time, European peak playtime, that haven't been quite as busy on the server, so we thought that we could open it up and you know, open up a few more spots and just continue building. I've been totally blown away by the stuff that has been going with Dimensions. So, all right, let me talk about this build quickly, and then we're going to get on with some other things. So, I wanted to continue this the same way as I did the other side, which is basically facades. It's not basically, it is facades of like townhouses and stuff like that, kind of borrowing from Kriddle a little bit, but then also kind of what I was doing, just kind of combining both sides of this. I did a little bit of a ruin there, as if a ruin kind of popped up next to the place, and I think it worked out pretty well. Let me explain the good and the bad. The good is that it's cool, it looks like townhouses. The bad is it doesn't really look like a factory. But that's okay, because it isn't really a factory. So what I want to do on the inside, I was talking to Kriddle about this before, is that I got a bunch of brick, and there's a bunch more brick smelting, and it's just taking a really long time. So it's hopefully smelting now. It's like, I think I might be too far away for that to actually happen. And I put up all the brick that we had over here just to try to give this a little bit more of a factory look, and it really worked. That was Kriddle's idea, and it's brilliant, of course. And then Kriddle had this other idea that was brilliant about putting those slats in the windows. That was so good. So good. So we're going to work more on this off camera, and then me and Kriddle are going to come back and sort of do a reveal, and we're going to talk about it and stuff like that. But I recruited his help a little bit because I don't really know what else to do. But also, did I tell you I've had a lot of grind time? Because I've had a lot of grind time. I built a church. I couldn't really talk. What I had planned to do is just put out the footprint and then record, but then I was still too sick. So then I thought, well, I'll just do the framework and then record, and then I was still too sick. So, yeah. I built a Church of the End over here. It's fairly small as far as it goes. It's not a very big church, but I think it works as far as it goes. Now I don't have any windows or any detailing, and that's the kind of stuff that I'm going to do today with this Church of the End. But I wanted to come in here and I want to talk about some things that I've tried and some things that have worked and some things that haven't worked with this church. And then I'll go off and I'll go do a bunch of detailing, and then I'll come back and maybe we'll do the interiors and stuff another day, because there's no interiors, of course. But first thing I want to do is I want to offer up a vote. So up there, you see these holes? These are for banners. And we don't have colors for this kingdom yet, and we need kingdom colors. So there's 3 options right here for you, and I'm going to let the viewers decide the colors of this kingdom. And, you know, and we'll just go with whatever the vote says. So the colors are either cyan and gray, if you like that, blue and white, if you like that, or red and light gray, okay? That's your choices. Don't go picking a different choice. Don't go freelancing and making up your own thing, because you might come up with something better. You probably would, but those are the choices. Because if everyone comes up with a whole bunch of different stuff, then it's going to be very hard to count your votes. So you can just vote in the comments, and do hashtag, wait, you're supposed to do this. Do hashtag Kingdom Colors, okay? That's it. Hashtag Kingdom Colors, and you can vote either cyan and gray, blue and white, or red and light gray, okay? And you vote, and whoever wins, that'll be the kingdom colors of how we're doing this. Boom. How we're doing this kingdom and all that stuff. And then those will be the flags that we fly through all this stuff. I have a favorite, but I'm not going to tell you which one it is, so I don't want to influence your vote, because I know which one I would pick, but I want to leave this up to the viewers. So you can see the church, this Church of the End again. Church of the End always has the colors of kind of purple and green. And I tried a little bit of a different combination, different idea on the windows over here that I think worked pretty well. Just a very random, tried to get kind of a stained glass look with only those 2 colors though. And then I did like full glass blocks here and half panes there, which is an idea I've used before, because it's an even numbered block. So yeah, it works. These things are just little palettes and a little bit of dark oak for the detailing there. I think it works. Up there, I did this thing because that is the same thing that Grumpy Owl and Pixel Brew, I think. Excuse me, I'm still coughing. Did over there. I think that's how yeah, it's right there. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I don't have a mute button anymore. I'd like to say I'm going to edit that out, but well. Anyway, so this is what I want to work on. I want to work on the detailing, and as promised, the longer I talk, my voice is getting worse. So I'm going to cut here, do a whole bunch of detailing, and I'll come back. Well, Merry Christmas if I didn't say so today. I know it's the day after, and happy holidays to everyone, whether you celebrate Christmas or any of the other seasonal holidays. So happy to have you here on my channel. Hanging out today, what is this? The day this is coming out, Thursday, December 27th. And it's snowing. It is snowing. It does not snow very much here. Oh, there we go. Put up. Okay. Put out the fire, Snow. Put out the fire. Okay. Yeah, so it's snowing, and that's a perfect opportunity to check out what I've done here in this cathedral, because I think I'm wrapping up this rather short episode today, because it's taken me quite some time to do this building, but I'm pretty happy with it. And you can see I've started to add some detail work, and it's not all done yet. It's not all done by any means, so I'm kind of waiting on y'all to give me a good vote on what kingdom colors you want to have here in this unnamed kingdom, which we're going to vote on that probably next week on maybe across all our channels, which should be a kind of fun little way to get everyone involved. Up here I tried something that I have done before, but it's been a while, where I did kind of it's a little bit modern of a take, but I wanted to try this sort of randomized window approach. Now unfortunately I couldn't go out to the edge. This looks better when you can go out to the edge, but I can't, because the edge is oh, I keep thinking that's a zombie. The edge is a corner block, so you can't, but it's okay, because I think eventually I'm going to come in here with a little bit more detail, coming in with some stairs and slabs and such, going up there. Maybe I'll do that between episodes. But some other thing, I did some ice overhangs here, and there's ice, there's I always mess it, not compressed ice, yeah, compressed ice, and snow, and with some snow layers up there, generally on top. Well, they have to be on top of the snow. They can't be on top of ice. But yeah, I think it turns out pretty well. Oh, I forgot that window. That's supposed to be the big Ender Eye window, or Eye of Ender. What? Yeah, Ender Eye, I think. Ender Pearl. Ender Pearl. That's the word for it. For the thing that I've been playing this game for 4 or 5 years or something, and I still forget. Yeah. But I think, you know what? I think it's not bad. I think it's not bad for as far as the initial round of detailing goes, and quite a bit of building for a singular episode. I had before, one of the things that I had done is I had put like kind of overhang here and lanterns, and I recorded a whole episode actually about the detailing and stuff. And then the more I looked at it, the more the dark oak kind of sticking out off this, and then I tried some dark oak sort of supports up here, and I didn't like it. I was talking to Krittle about it, and I like the idea, but it didn't really work, so I went ahead and got rid of it, and that's why you didn't see that episode, because why should I put a whole episode of something that I end up not liking? So I actually trashed not only all the work I did, but also the recording I did of that episode. But yeah, let's just jump up here in Spectator and just take a look at how this is, so you can get a good glimpse. Oh, and I did a lot of slab work. Right. Okay. So I used the smooth stone slabs, and the only reason why I did that, not to mob proof, because I don't really care so much about that mob proofing. See, I see I need a lot of snow layer work up here, because it's so uniform, and I want to put some just rolling hills of snow up there and coming off the top. But why I did the slabs is just because of the color differential. I had been using stairs, stone brick stairs at first, and I don't think it was as good, because it really blended in. You could barely tell what it was. So I think what I'll do between episodes here is I will detail out the cobblestone with a bunch of andesite and stuff like that, kind of doing what Germ did over here with this, so that way these tie together, and then adding in some cracked stone brick to where all the stone brick is. Maybe, I'm not sure. I wouldn't mind having another stone brick alternative, but mossy doesn't seem like the right call because of the weather and stuff. So I don't know. We'll discuss that. Do a little bit more detailing. Definitely do the snow, and I'm gonna do all that between episodes. It is very boring and tedious work, but yeah, this is not a bad start on this little church at the end here, and then we'll do the interiors and do some stuff like that. So should be a really good time. Before I go though, I want to kind of walk around here and mention a comment I got. So let me find it, and then we'll discuss. All right, we found it. So it is from Destined to Pixels. Great name. I've been watching your videos for a while and been inspired to make my own world. I have a couple questions. 1, how do you come up with names for places and people, etc.? 2, when do you know there's enough lore, and when is it needed? 3, where do you find inspiration for your lore and builds? 4, any tips you would find useful for someone creating their own world? P.S. Your channel doesn't get the attention it deserves for the content you create, and keep up the great work. Well, thank you first. Thank you for the very kind words. Let's go sleep. Thank you for the kind words. Yeah, listen. Thank you. You know what? I started doing this, and I never really did it. Oh, hello. For views or anything, but it sure is nice when it happens. So if you want to tell your friends, I promise I won't complain. about it. But thank you sincerely for coming by, hanging out, spending part of your day with me in this world, and also thanks for the great question. So the part that I want to sort of focus in on is not necessarily how do you come up with great names. There are lots of generators online that you can find, and I don't usually take a name straight from it, but sometimes I take part of a name and kind of inspired by it and use something like that. How do you find out? How do you know when there's enough lore and when to add lore? I think that's an interesting part of the question. There's never enough lore. There's never enough storyline, because in the real world, say you're just driving down the street. You're just driving the street here where I live in Pittsburgh, and you see like a little mom and pop dance studio. So that's fine. That there's a dance studio there, but the real story is in the people who made that dance studio. That's like, maybe say a husband and wife team that like maybe quit their, I'm totally making this up, quit their teaching jobs in order just to open a dance studio. And that's always been their dream. And they have kids who are into dance and heavily influenced. You see what I'm saying? Like just that dance studio, you can just drive by the dance studio, not think too much of it. Or you can think about who the people are who made that dance studio, and all of a sudden then there's a storyline. And then, well, where did that girl go to school, say for example, and who was her teacher, and you see what I'm saying? Like you can just go and go and go. So where is there enough lore? I don't think there ever really is a point of that. Now there's a balance as far as making videos. I find that that you need to sort of find the sweet spot because some people really love the lore, some people not so much, and you need to find that sort of spot. But yeah, you can always add more. You can always add more details. And what's interesting about it is the more lore you add, the more excuses you have to build things. Like you will never have like builder's block, which is something I hear fairly frequently in like the Minecraft building community, is like builder's block. You'll never have it if you write a storyline, and it's weird. And so, that's something that I never have. Honestly, there's never been a moment since I started playing this game that I was like, I don't know what to build next. The only time I think that is when, well, I have 7 options and I want to build them all. I don't know which to build first, and that's a wholly different situation, right? So yeah, I really think constantly add to the storyline, and whenever you're not sure what to do, just think about who are these people, because you're building a world for people. Now it's weird and it's difficult because we're building a world where there aren't actual people, and I know that they're villagers. Yeah, I know, but let's, they're not good enough to base your story around. So let's just pretend like there aren't villagers, and we're building an empty world with imaginary people is essentially the story. So you need to constantly work and come up with the story. Those roofs look really nice. I really like them. I'm going to do that to a lot of the builds, I think. And this is a bit of a test run, but once I get all the snow layered over there, oh man, it's going to be really nice. Yeah, it's cool. A lot more icicles and stuff hanging out from like the highest peaks. I think that'll be really cool. So yeah, just constantly add more lore. That's the big thing. Add even a little tiny little bit you can add, and then that grows it into a bigger bit, and then that grows up a bigger bit, and that grows into a big story. But here's the big thing that I want to talk about for a few minutes, as long as my voice will hold out. Any tip you find useful in creating their own world, because I know that this kind of story build, I was talking to Grumpy about this not long ago, and it's becoming a little bit more popular of a thing here recently. We've seen more and more people doing it on their channels, which is amazing, and it's awesome, and I love that kind of thing because it's such a more interesting way than just putting cool buildings, I feel, in my mind. So tips, I would say my number one tip, if you're doing a story build type of world, and I think Grumpy would probably agree with this, although I haven't talked to him about it, but we're so alike in our mindset about this kind of thing, is come up with your overarching story first. About when I started this about 2.5 years ago or so, I was so lucky that I was on a live stream and we came up with the idea of a war with the Nether, because that changed everything in this world, and that is the big overarching story. And that was back in episode like 15 out of like what, 350 or so episodes, something along those lines, or nearly anyway. And if you come up with, say I'm just throwing an idea out there. Okay, say here you go. There's a prince and a princess. Their father dies. They've never gotten along. They split their kingdom in two, and they have two two warring kingdoms. Boom, there's a story that you can build a whole world about. So there's towns and hamlets and cities and castles and you can make battle scenes and all that kind of stuff, all based on that. All based on that there's a brother and sister, a king and a queen now of their own kingdoms, and they're in competition with each other. I think that, like, as easy and simple as that is to come up with, that's the overarching story. Then you can get into small details. There was, maybe there was a general who was loyal to the brother but went with the sister or something, whatever. You can come up with stories like that are going to influence your whole build and influence the way the story goes. The other thing I would decide on is timeline. Are you building to a specific date, or are you building an ever-evolving world? The ever-evolving world is more complicated because you may have to change builds that are already built. That's not something I was super interested in, so we decided to build up to a certain date. So we are building, I want to say it's the year 403 in the Third Age. I think that's the date on the wiki. I'm not sure, but we'll never go beyond that date. Like that's so everything we're building right now is the way it exists in the year 403. That stops us from having to go and change builds if, say, all of a sudden a war breaks out. We don't want to come back in here and build, half the city destroyed if they get attacked by a future kingdom, for example, things like that. The other way can be really cool. It's just not the way I wanted to go with this. So decide which way you want to go on those two things, and the rest of the world will quickly evolve. Lastly, the last thing I want to decide, and this is something that I made some major mistakes and have since paid a bit of the penalty for, is I would absolutely pick a texture pack and try to stick with it forever, whether that's vanilla or whether that's your own custom texture pack, or whether it's, of course, I'm partial to JermsyBoy's texture pack or our version of JermsyBoy's texture pack or whatever, Sfax, or pick one, because that changes your builds. I know when I go back to older builds, I've had to do some major rebuilding because we changed texture packs, and all of a sudden oak got a lot lighter now. Oak used to be the color of spruce now, so we built a lot of stuff out of oak that doesn't really work as much now because it's too light, So that would be that's sort of the Minecraft-y way, of doing stuff. But yeah, so that's my little tips if you want to start your own world. Those are my couple minor little. I didn't make it. I wanted to land on that platform, but I didn't make it. That's okay. I wish there was a place to sit like here. Oh, that's a pretty nice view. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna go rest my voice. I'm not feeling super great. Hey, special thanks to my wife in the comments, if you don't mind, for recording another narration for me, kind of a bit of a recap, a bit of a previously on Vasten voiceover, because they're one half of our kind of current characters who have been the story's been progressing the last couple years leading up to 403 in the Third Age. We haven't touched the Tanis aspect in quite a while, so there's some new people here that I want to make sure that they're on board. So yeah, just a little bit of a recap and further the story just slightly, but those two characters, we're gonna be following Ferdinand and Jack along with their entourages here for a little while. I have some cool plans for them, but I will see you all next episode from the Realm of Vasten. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.